Can't get the free. Okay, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay. Leslie, you want to make a motion to?
Oh, sure. Sorry. Yes, of course. Well, I just
Elizabeth,
wanted to formally introduce Elizabeth Abrams. I think we just had Emily Abrams. It does say Elizabeth here, even though I know Emily and her name is Emily. Sorry about that, Emily. Emily, we just had an opportunity to introduce Emily to some other people besides the town board that work with the town board here in the room. And we're just so thrilled to have you joining the planning board. Emily's term will officially begin in January. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Emily Abrams to the planning board to fill the vacancy for Ed Jorgensen, whose term will officially end then.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Emily, welcome.
And
Thank you so much. And I think our next step here is to have Chrissy Briggs, who's the deputy clerk, do the oath of office and have you sign the book here.
Yeah, so what's the best place? Right
Right
here?
here.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Okay, so if you could just repeat after me.
Okay.
I,
Emily.
Emily Abrams,
Emily Abrams,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of planning
Planning
board.
board.
Yes.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Planning Board.
Thank you. And if you could just please sign right there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you for volunteering.
Yeah, so I've let the
Thanks a lot.
incoming chairperson, Susan Meany, know that you were going to be officially elected and sworn in this evening, and I'll make sure to connect you both by email, and we'll do an orientation for you in the beginning of the new year so that you're ready to go for the January board meeting.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, and you're welcome. I mean, you can stay for as long as you'd like, but you can leave whenever you'd like.
Much time.
And next we have Thomas, I mean Tate, you're kidding. Here as our newest zoning Board of Appeals member-elect. Tate will be filling the vacancy of outgoing board member Peter Audia. Tate, we're so thrilled to have you. And I'd like to formally make a motion to appoint Tate Kunkel to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Washington. Do I have a
Second.
motion?
Second to that?
Yes, I'll
All in
second.
favor?
All in favor?
Don't you want a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Please step
Tate,
forward.
welcome. Come up here and get
My wife is sick, so.
Okay.
Okay.
sworn in.
Same, I, Tate Kunkel, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I, Tate Kunkel, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Zoning Board of Appeals, according to the best of my ability.
Awesome. If would you mind signing
Excellent.
right there, please? Thanks.
Yeah. You either have to die now or move.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tate. Emily.
Or take my place on the board when I'm ready.
Yeah. And Tate, I did let John Parisi know, who's the chairman of the ZBA, that you would
He's
be
a good
elected
guy.
and sworn in this evening, and we're also going to connect you both in person in the new year so you can get to know each other a little bit better and be oriented before you start your first ZBA meeting. There is no ZBA meeting this month because they have nothing before them, so their next meeting and your first meeting will be in January. So
By the
we'll
way,
get you situated.
John
If they
just
have it.
lives up the road from me.
I know
Yeah.
where he lives, yeah.
Good.
Well, thank
So
you,
welcome,
guys.
thank you both again. And, you know, as we said, you're
You can
You're
stay if you
dismissed.
wish.
welcome to stay, but do not have to stay.
You
I
have
know
a
you
sick
have
wife
a,
at
you
home,
have a
you
nice
better
hockey
go.
player.
I got hockey practice.
Yeah, Tate was dropping
Okay.
a 6-year-old off
Take
and then
care,
coming
thank
here
you.
and being sworn in and back.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
bye,
Thank you,
everybody,
man.
thank
Good
you.
Okay, a motion to open a public hearing on the fire contract with the Village of Milton.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Authorize me to sign a contract with the Village of Millbrook for the gymnasium.
Oh, yeah.
I
So
don't need, I
moved,
need
or-
a motion on there, or just
Yeah,
authorization?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second?
Second?
Second, Leslie, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. What is that? Do you have it, Chrissy? Or do I have it? Wait a minute.
Well, we authorized you to sign it.
I do not
You don't
have
have to
a
sign this minute.
It may be on Mary's desk.
I might have it. Yeah, here it is.
We got it?
Should cross out
Yeah.
$5 a month.
When does that commence, Terry?
Um,
So I'd let Danielle know.
I think it runs from
By January.
January to
January.
January to December?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So Chrissy, here's, I signed this copy, just double check, make sure everything is okay on it. And also for me, a motion to authorize me to sign a contract for the police officer for the court. I thought we were.
We're still negotiating, but you still have to have the contract until the negotiation
Yeah.
is complete.
So, a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to sign the contract contingent on how we proceed in the negotiation with the
Okay.
village on the courts.
Second?
Okay.
Which means it's not, it could terminate
Right.
if another agreement was to come about. So,
Second.
Bob, second, all in favor?
aye.
I mean, we have the right to terminate that contract?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Moving right along. Okay, Joe, we're ready.
Okay. We talked about this actually last year, I believe, and again last month. I'd like the board to consider authorizing the attorney to prepare an introduction of a local law regarding harvesting of timber. This came about several years ago, but more recently, during the course of an effort over in Armenia, adjacent to one of our roads, which was used during the course of the removing of timber that was being harvested. We don't have a local law. What it does is it gives us an opportunity to review the project. It usually goes before the planning board. Consultants are hired on their, by them, for them, and also, if necessary, for the town of Washington, the applicant pays for the engineers. The DEC is usually involved in some of these efforts, given the proximity to our watersheds and et cetera. I have come upon these trucks on roads over the years, having no idea that they were there. And most of this foresting or the removing of timber is done on our dirt roads. So it gives us somewhat of an opportunity to look at it prior to its inception so that we have an opportunity to make comment.
Whose law is this, Joe?
That is Armenia. So consider it. If you'd like to do it today, that'd be great.
Are they done with that project on
Halfway,
Depot?
halfway.
Yeah, because I went to their meeting and they agreed that if there's any damage to our road, they would,
Yeah, well, they have a bond.
yeah.
I believe it was sort of minimal, but it was, whatever it was about $10,000, I think. And they proceeded without a hitch. I didn't even know they'd been on the road. So the road was hard. It all worked out very well. A lot of times timber is removed in the winter because the expectation is that the road is frozen. And a lot of times it's not. So it's a scheduling thing. It's something that gives us an opportunity, like I said, to to be a part of it, you know, because it does affect the roads.
Mm-hmm.
Something that Jeff has to.
Yeah.
So you're asking us to recommend that we move forward on asking our town attorney to develop a local law
Yeah,
that reflects the restrictions on timber.
it's not a restriction necessarily. I think
Guidelines.
it's a view of what's happening. You know, I mean, this is something that has occurred here, will probably continue to occur here, so that we can have some sort of say in scheduling and so on.
Yeah.
And
I like
I'm
it.
not sure
Do
that
we have
there's
anything now?
No.
Jeff?
Well, the guidelines on the tonnage of the roadway, right? They can't.
always that.
There's always
There's-
that we
there's
can
always that, and
enforce.
yeah. And there are culverts that are, you know, listed and they have signs and so on, but that doesn't.
We don't.
Cut and all that kind of stuff.
You can drive an 80-ton truck over a 5-ton culvert, it's not gonna crush it.
Mhm.
You're gonna get over it, but is it gonna damage it? Yeah. sure.
Mhm.
I recall there was a, and I don't know if it would classify as harvesting, because I don't know how
Yes.
many trees you need to remove for it to be classified as that, but there's a property on 44 that came before the planning board for site plan approval for a porch. And part of it is they had to clear up some violation that they had because they were harvesting trees. It's right outside of Mabbittsville. as it
Well, that's the old
Yeah.
Briggs place. They're in the tree business. They weren't harvesting, they're bringing the logs in.
Okay, well, that's why I was wondering, they're doing some, so is that, we must have something on the
Well,
books,
we
right?
do during the course, I believe, of a subdivision,
Okay,
of an application before the planning board. We do have it, but we don't have anything that I know of in our
Yeah.
code,
Yeah.
okay, for this particular harvest.
Yeah,
Well, it makes
Leslie,
sense to- yeah, that's not
operation
harvesting, that's
was,
different.
They bring in the
That was a
trees.
business in the residential
I see,
area.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what that was all about.
Yeah.
Okay. But wouldn't harvesting would also be, isn't it's commercial? This person's just clearing out to build in Amenia, I can't recall. Usually,
Well, I think there's different kinds. You know, I think there's actually, this was a preserve in Armenia that was being harvested.
Right.
Whether for the wood or to clear the land so that the
other trees could,
can
yeah.
grow.
Right.
No, I
When
didn't
I-
get into that.
Right, when I was at the meeting in Amenia,
Yeah.
the owner was there with the
Yep.
forester,
Sure,
and their reason for the harvesting was to make room for the good trees to grow.
yep,
In other words, they were selectively cutting dead trees and poor trees and trees that have lived
yep,
their life.
100 and 200 years.
Yeah, right. And then they answered the public's questions very well.
Yeah,
You know, because
Yeah.
there was quite a few people against it. They didn't want to see all the trees cut
yeah,
down.
no, I know,
They had a real good plan to show everybody.
yeah.
Okay.
So I guess I would just ask, if you don't mind, this Amenia law, I'm just going to read a little bit of it. It says that apparently a submission is made to the planning board, but it then says the planning board shall waive all site plan application and approval requirements that are not relevant to forest management and timber harvesting. The planning board shall not waive the requirement for performance guarantees. So I've seen boards where you require a special use permit to do this or a site plan approval. This seems pretty streamlined here, like they really want to limit the approval authority of the planning board. So do you have any thoughts about how complex you want to be or how simple you want to be?
Well, do you have a recommendation of what you think is sort of a best practice here based on the other
Let me
towns you've
just take a
seen?
look at the local laws in a couple of towns.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, this one seems like it just wants to protect proper erosion control, stormwater management, reforestation, maintenance of the on-site roads and off-site roads.
So yes, I can draft something for you. I will look at a few other towns first and see what they have
Yeah,
and
look at Pleasant
make a
Valley.
recommendation to you.
When I was on the Boy Scout board, we hired a company to come in and at the Boy Scout camp, we took out a number of trees to open up the canopy so the ground was getting the light it needed. And I believe we had to go before planning, the council had to go and get approval and all of that kind of thing. So
So
I
I'll
think
look
Pleasant
into
Valley
that.
had pretty good one too.
What about approval of the forest? When we did the wetlands law, we had.
You get a
forest.
permit, right? Yeah, you gotta get a permit.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you,
All
Joe.
right. Okay. Bridge New York Culvert Program. We need to establish a selection committee to basically hire a consultant, an engineer, grant writer, and to evaluate proposals. The reason for that is that we're sort of bound by a different criteria here because some of this money that comes from this program is federal money. So it's not like we can go and do what we started to do, by the way. We started to send out RFPs for engineers. Can't do it that way. We need to have a committee. The committee has to do some work prior to our application. This is going to be sort of fast and furious. A lot of it's to be done in December. I believe the deadline for submission is, it's in January.
January 20th.
Yeah, it could be the 20th, yeah. So I have down here myself, Joe, and Leslie, unless there's scheduling conflicts or you feel otherwise, so that we can proceed and quickly.
Okay.
Perfect.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay with me.
Okay, I don't know if you have to make some sort of motion to establish this committee or not, Jeff, I don't know.
I think you should have a motion and identify who's on the committee.
I'll make the motion that Joe and Leslie be on the committee with Joe to help get the grant for the Bridge in New York and Culvert program done before January 20th.
Second.
You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
a tough.
I'll second then.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And also to authorize the town clerk to advertise the project. That's one of the main issues, is that we can't just advertise in the local paper. It has to go on, it's quite an elaborate site. It goes out far and wide.
So you'll follow
Is
up
it-
on that,
Yes, we
Joe?
will.
I think it's was Mary describing, Joe, it's some sort of it's sort of like an RFP, right? We have
It
to
is,
invite other
yes, we do.
grant
We sort of
writers
have
to-
Exactly.
to
Exactly.
submit proposals.
Yeah,
Um,
it's all because of the federal portion of it.
yeah.
Mhm.
I did circle back with the company that Mary and I talked to earlier this fall. They did give us a quote, which you all saw, which seemed pretty reasonable. You know, without having anything to compare it to, it's hard to know.
Yeah.
But we can't hire them until we go through that process. But we're going to try to schedule a call with them Tuesday, I think, of next week to just ask questions and see where we are and let them know that we have to put this, you know, local projects manual notice out, and then we can sort of take it from there. But at least we can give them a sense of the timeline, and they do have experience doing this grant. So that's helpful for us, I think.
So do we still have to do you do one bridge, you got to go downstream a ways or something? And you still have to do
I
that?
don't know, to be honest with you, but I suspect
Yeah.
that may occur during the process. The engineers will obviously see that. And, you know, you remember the details that you got from the previous. So I suspect so, but we'll see. We'll see. Also, we need to schedule a meeting, a special meeting on the 22nd to appoint an engineer and a grant writer for the bridge. That's how quickly this has to move.
So let me get this straight. This committee has to meet prior to the 22nd. to come up with the
I
engineer
suspect, yes.
and the grant writer.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, the
Well-
grant writer, I think we just, did Mary already put that out? I think she did.
I don't think so. I'm not sure.
I'll have to
My
confirm that with
understanding was-
her.
And she may have, but my understanding is that most of these engineers have grant writers. But I'm
Oh,
not sure. I'm not sure of that.
Mhm.
I'm not sure of that. There may be a different, it sounds as though, I will know more tomorrow. The county, we were playing phone tag with the county
okay,
on this, so I will know tomorrow more.
okay.
So we'll talk as far as when a good time it is to meet. Prior to
Absolutely,
the
at your
20th.
convenience, I can meet anytime.
Looks like it has to be tomorrow.
Midnight tonight.
No.
I wouldn't say,
I can't play cards.
I wouldn't say tomorrow. I wouldn't say tomorrow. We need this, I'm telling you, this thing has moved so fast. So, I will get with you after tomorrow, if that's okay.
Sure.
If this becomes burdensome, I know it's the holidays, you know.
No.
maybe we can,
It's no bother, Joe. We gotta get it done. We gotta get it done.
So is there a
It's no
need to have
bother.
a special meeting on the 22nd?
yes,
So do we, 6 o'clock? I mean, what,
6 o'clock.
so you would need a motion to set that meeting and advertise it?
Special meeting
Does
of
it
the
have to be
town
6
board or
o'clock?
the
Can we do it
committee?
earlier?
No, the committee, and so I don't know, this is
Oh.
schedule a special meeting for someone to appoint an engineer. and-
Yeah, if we
Well,
could,
that may be for the town, I don't know that the committee can appoint an engineer, so it could be the town, yes.
Okay.
Can we do it at 5?
Sure.
it'd be better for me, actually.
Is that better?
Yeah, it is, than 6, just as,
So the 22nd at 5?
Mhm.
So then, again, just to take a motion for a special meeting, December 22nd, 5 o'clock, and to have the town clerk author or advertise it.
I make a motion to do exactly what Jeff just said.
Second that.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
all right.
And I think that's all, except for the Kalarn Road report.
Mhm.
Need to advertise a special meeting for January 11th, 2023,
Yeah,
to meet with Colliers.
I'll make that motion.
Excuse me, Joe, what day is that, Joe, do you
You
know?
I don't
Well,
know,
I'll tell you in a second.
isn't
So
it
it's a Wednesday.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
the
Wednesday.
day before our meeting?
yeah, it's the day before, so it's
the
a
day Before our
Wednesday,
meeting.
because we're meeting on the 12th.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. All right, so can we do that earlier too, 5 o'clock?
Oh, it's fine with me, the earlier the better.
Is that good with all you folks?
it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have this in here, okay.
That will be public invited.
Yes.
Yeah.
The same thing, somebody should make a motion and second it, and
So I'll make the
I'll make a
motion
motion.
that we have a special meeting on January 11th, 2022 at 5 PM to meet with Colliers engineers for Killarn Road.
So that'll be January 11th, 2023.
2023.
That's what I meant.
In a second.
I had 23 written down.
I'll
Second?
second.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Okay.
Joe. Yeah.
All right, I mean, except for a few little items, signs, I noticed there was a thing in the report about signage, we're working on, but it's more than just that. We have speed limits to deal with, which I brought up last year, but I'll bring up again. There's no speed limits for nearly half our roads. So, some because they're too short, some because they were never applied. I worked with Jeff a couple of years ago. He looked up how we go about doing this, and a town under the population of 50,000 is not allowed to set their own speed limits. There was legislation before the state Senate where they passed a law allowing the towns to do it. I don't think it made it through the assembly though, because I called the county highway superintendent. So it may be one of those struggles that we have to deal with the DOT on every single road, but we will.
Okay.
Joe, one other thing that we talked about at our last meeting with regard to Clarendon Road,
Mhm.
in the report,
Mhm.
one of the suggestions that the engineer had was about signage on the road that we thought that everybody,
So we're talking.
did you already, no, you're talking about speed limit. I think that they had to do with weight, the weight
Yeah, weight
signs.
signs.
Yep.
Um,
The wait
I talked
times
to
were
Joe.
there. They've been there for 20 years. He missed them.
Oh, really? Okay.
I talked to him.
Okay, and nothing else? There wasn't anything else about
No,
big
there was
trucks or,
signs, no. He
okay.
said that the signage was, I don't know, I'll use the word.
Trucks over a
Delinquent.
certain length.
Well, no, there
Wait.
weren't curb signs, and I put up some speed limit signs and one curb sign. I don't have them, and I did notice a lot of things because we've been going road by road as we blacktop them, okay, and putting up the signage, because a lot of our roads don't have the proper signage. So we are working on it. It costs a lot of money. I put $10,000 away this year for signage. I'll spend every dime of it probably. And
Where do you have the
there's
signs?
$22,000 to $23,000 on the road now in signs.
Did you get the signs from Courtcraft?
Hmm?
Did you get them from Courtcraft?
No,
The sign, no?
no, I don't know what it is.
Coming from Hillman, though.
I'll just-
No,
Oh,
no, Glencoe.
I'll tell you about Courtcraft.
There's a lot of new designs too.
They're the, Courtcraft is the prison system
Okay,
that's authorized in the OGS contract
Yeah.
to use. So they
Okay.
give tremendous discounts.
okay.
And municipalities can.
Yeah, municipalities.
Oh, because
Yes,
the prisoners
yes.
are actually making the signs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
municipalities, only municipalities.
They're spelled wrong, but.
Yeah. Yeah. That's-
Just tease.
Anyway,
Say you were
yes,
teasing.
I got the message about the signs. I saw it in the report. And we did put up a few, but they missed the tonnage signs.
Okay.
Whether those tonnage signs are accurate, I suspect they are on that road, but it's a 10-ton we have on there. They suggested 12 on the road. And that was just a suggestion for now without knowing, having done a lot more research on it. But you have trucks on that road repeatedly that are way, way over those.
Yeah.
Way over those.
One of the
And on all your
challenges
roads.
is Wave and Google Maps
Yeah.
directing trucks off using that road as a
Yeah.
shortcut to get to other, and the weight capacity is way above what it should be. Because they're telling them to go that way. They don't
Well, no,
know.
you're gonna have your garbage trucks, you're gonna have your oil trucks.
Sure, but you
you're
get
gonna
your
have
other, you got
delivery
some
trucks,
other big trucks on that road.
You know, so but in the event that there is a culvert whose weight limit, and which there is not on Karan, I don't believe, whose weight limit is 4 ton, I believe that bridge down there on Oak Summit
There's 4 tons.
is 4 ton. There's 20-ton vehicles
Mhm.
on it all the time.
Mhm.
So, but we'll let them discern. That's what, I'm very happy that we've done this.
Yeah,
Very happy.
Yes, good.
All right.
Thanks,
Great.
Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Okay, Lois.
My boring county report compared to everyone else's all the time.
It's an important one, Lois.
Well, the bank reconciliations through October are completed. The monthly revenue from the Justice Court has been received through October from the Chief Klein and P. Wilson. The town clerk's November report has been submitted, as well as the building department. The transfer station billing's up to date. There's one resident who is extremely past due that owes $262.61.
Lois, this is for what?
For the
Dump
transfer station.
Mm-hmm.
I could send them another certified letter. I was not effective before. So I really don't know where to take it from here, or what our next step might be.
Can we stop them from using?
We did,
I'm-
he's on the day, he's on the naughty list, they call it.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
So they can't use the,
they can't use
I see.
it, they
Well-
haven't used it in quite a while.
I
Well,
see.
usually
I
we
see.
send them a letter saying that if they don't pay by a certain time, we give it to the court.
And then what is the procedure?
I don't know.
think Kristen wasn't quite familiar with it either.
It's like-
Mary thought that somebody,
It's-
representative from the town had to be there.
Well, I'll be there. I'll come. Small claims. I think you make a small claim, that's all.
You just need to have, is that, do you know if that is correct, Jeff? Do you know what?
This is taking someone to court who hasn't paid their bill from the transfer station?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you have to have a little hearing and a witness who could introduce the
Right,
evidence.
right.
And if you get a judgment, in some towns, once you have a judgment, you can add it to their tax bill. I don't know if they have that
Okay.
here.
Okay. So that's just
Okay.
one thing that I will.
How long has this been outstanding?
For over a year.
Yeah, I move forward on it then.
I
Do it that way.
even talked to the gentleman on the phone.
Now, if they were to come forward and pay that, Jeff, because of conduct unbecoming, could you refuse to issue them one in the future?
I don't know the answer to that, but I don't know what if you have a policy, a written policy on it, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
And,
Okay.
Yeah.
we don't have a fine policy, I take it. They're
No,
overdue
I
a
mean,
year, you know?
Interest,
Hmm.
monthly. At the maximum rate, I think is still 18%.
But we're aware that they are aware, and we have not seen any activity on their tag
No,
trying to use the site.
no.
Okay.
All right, I'll talk to Kristen. The enhanced software was installed on Tuesday, the new accounting software. We decided the best avenue for right now is to put it up, it is a small data file is on the server. It's actually, the data file is the size, it can go on a laptop, and it's much smaller than KBS's software program. So I have it installed on my desktop and on the available laptop that was originally for the planning board last year, but we will use it. So we have a 2-user agreement, and I'm gonna have
Good.
Natalie start entering, maybe all the vendors have to go in and all that, so it's a bit of a process of entering information.
But we'll run it mirror-wise.
Yes, yep. So I, actually, she did the transfer station billing this month. That file is up on the server, so we can't work on it at the same time, but the data is there instead of just being on my desktop now. So, and then the other, we have 6 hours of training in that contract that we paid for. So I'm going to have someone, well, it's actually Karen McLaughlin is one of the company's training
Oh, good.
associates, whatever you want to call them. She's gonna come tomorrow after about 10:30, after I get some of my work that needs to get done tomorrow morning. So that's it. I gave you a sample of the chart of accounts. The chart of accounts has changed a little. Its concept remains the same. But instead of, for instance, an A starting the account number as for the general fund, it resides in the middle as an 01. So the first 6 numbers are your normal account numbers. And then you will see in the middle, like for the first, let me get the, I think the comp or so for the H fund, you see that the account numbers are the account number, and then the 05 in the middle represents that H fund.
Yep.
The fire district is 06. The general is that 01 number in the middle. So it takes a little It'll take a little time to
Yes.
get everyone get used to.
Yeah, to digest.
Yes. One is A fund, 02 is B fund, and 04 in the middle is the highway. Did you get one, Gary? Or
I have
did
it.
you out?
Yeah.
All righty.
Yep.
So that is going well.
Good.
Going well. We are now certified, gold certified with the retirement system.
What does that mean?
That means that the employer is doing most of the work and not the retirement system. It's just a different way of reporting. And every employee is reported every month, even though they're not a participant. Just in case in the future, say the lifeguards, their time will all be recorded in the retirement system. Say they leave employment, whatever, they come back in a municipal job in the state. That time that they worked as a lifeguard, they can buy those service hours back. And it'll all be recorded. You won't have to sit and fill out a form. How many hours did they work? What years? Blah, blah, blah. They're all going to have it.
Wow.
And they can elect, I believe, to buy that time back. So that is that.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's more work because you have to report everybody.
Yep.
Not that, not that.
How many pure retirees do we have?
We have about 4.
Still.
Still, that are retirees that are working for us part-time. Then we received the Caring Institute Solar Decommissioning.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's
We
great.
don't have to track that every year now.
That's
That's
good.
awesome.
That's a lot of work.
And then I've attached the budget adjustments.
Yep.
The first one is just to recognize the donation in the revenue of $1,000 we received against increasing the expense on that donation. The second one is the using the fund balance for the generators. We had money that we received in prior years, which rolled over into fund balance. That fund balance acts as the revenue against the expenses of the 2 deposits we made. The court, Social Security line, and the CE expenses, using the contingency expense to cover the overage. I think it's still due, that overage being due to having the 2 years of the auditor come in, for doing 2 years of the audit. The assessor's line, CE line went over a little bit, so I'm gonna take
150, yeah.
the CE attorney line and offsetting that. The next is the amendment to use up ARPA funds, just offsetting the accounting software and Joe's purchase of his first truck
Right.
and the plow and sanding,
Yep.
whatever equipment put in those trucks.
Yep.
And then the recreation expenses, taking from the lacrosse line, had quite a few funds left in it and covering soccer and summer camp lines. There will be some more, I'm sure, next month as well, as we draw it to the end of the year. So that is
Good.
that.
Okay.
That's a good report.
Thank you, Lois.
The new truck is down there if anybody wants to go look at it.
I drove it.
It's pretty sharp.
There
It
you go.
doesn't ride very good.
No, it's
We have a driver. We have a driver.
it's not orange.
What's that?
It's you, you're the driver.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna sand the roads.
Yeah,
No, we felt that the need for a highway vehicle to be in that parade of lights next year,
absolutely.
so.
And that
And
will-
you have to get a trailer, which we have,
Yeah,
and decorate it.
yes.
And we all ride on the back
And
of it.
everybody gets
Yeah.
on.
Right.
There are other town trucks in the parade.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice to see ours in it.
Yeah,
If you took,
It's great.
if you took the hood off of that truck, that international hood, it's 100% Chevrolet.
oh, yeah, I know.
That's the only thing that's international,
Yeah.
is the hood.
Isn't it?
It's
And a
unbelievable.
grill with-
When I got into driving, I said,
The
This is a
5,500
Chevrolet.
or 4,500.
yep,
Okay.
yeah,
So
good.
yes, requesting, the highway vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Lois, very much.
We don't make a motion to move this money?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so we need to make a, okay.
You want to do that?
I make a motion to,
Budget adjustment.
to make the budget adjustments as requested by Lois.
Second,
Second, Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, Chrissy,
Okay. So, we need to schedule the annual organization meeting for Thursday, January 12th, 2023 at 6 PM.
we was just gonna cut.
what is it now,
That's a bit-
January
12.
12th? Wow.
We'll meet on the 11th, so
Meeting, right?
we'll just
Yeah.
stay.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just order in.
Yeah.
Reorg,
Okay.
6 PM.
Yep.
Okay,
And then recommendation by Assessor Evangelista to change limits for local option low income disabled exemption. To increase the limits for this exemption to be the same as they are for the senior exemption.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and then disabled exemption, current limits are 27,000 and 35,400. Suggested limits are 29,000 and 37,400. The income ceiling for 50% and maximum income for exemption respectively.
That's pretty
So that's
solid.
right.
Jeff, do you have any opinion about that?
Well,
I'm just reading your face. I just was.
well, I think a local law might be needed for that. In other words, these levels might be set in your town code, and when you
Yeah.
change them, you have to pass a local law. So I see that on the following page, it says schedule a public hearing for the exemption
Okay.
increase.
So
I
it's
might have
local law.
to do a local law
Okay.
first.
Yeah,
So you're having a special meeting on December 22nd, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do a local law for then, that
Okay.
would set that
Oh, that'd be
public
great.
hearing and
Okay.
try to
Okay.
change those exemption amounts.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jeff.
So to schedule the public hearing for the exemption increase you just did for December, correct?
Correct.
December 22nd. And then lastly, we will begin our tax collection in January.
Okay.
Fun.
Quick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
no rush, you know.
yeah. You know, rush on that,
Right.
yeah.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Chrissy.
Okay, so Danielle's not
Dan-
here.
I
Danielle's
can give her a
report.
report.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I got the
Good.
report.
Yeah.
So when you get down to me, I can do both.
Oh, okay. So Bob, you want to bring us up to date on the generator?
Well, we gave the deposit, the generators are in. They're scheduled for sometime in January to install. We're just working out who to get the propane from, and we'll work that out between now and then.
Awesome.
Everything with that went really well. So
That was a long process.
that was a long, well, nobody bid the first time, and then the
Yeah.
second time, we got two bids that were.
Plus, this has been going on for 4 years. We've been trying to do this.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Part of the problem with those is just to let you know that it's very few companies do the whole
Right.
job.
You sell them, you will install them.
Yeah, and everybody likes to sell them, and then you gotta
get an electrician and
Yeah.
then a gas guy, and you got to get, the electric company involved. There's all kinds of, and believe it or not, I mean, just people don't want to do municipal work. We hear that all day long. I talked to 2 propane people that don't, municipality, no thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't,
Dude, I can't believe it. It's not like municipalities are stiffs or anything. It's just that it's the paperwork that goes with the prevailing wage and that
Is
kind
it
of
that they
stuff.
don't want to pay prevailing wage?
That's part of
Part
it.
of it, yeah.
Jeff, did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, since Bob has been involved with the EV charging station,
Yeah.
I had received an email from Randy Burke, he's from the contractor's office, and he had sent to us a proposal, it's just a one-page proposal, but he needs it to submit it with a grant application to Central Hudson.
Yep.
So I was just gonna ask the town board to pass a motion tonight to authorize the supervisor to sign it. If you will sign it tonight, I'll take it and send it to Randy Burke,
Sure,
yeah.
and I'll insert the town's EIN number on it.
Yeah, I'll make the recommendation that Gary sign it's a 0 contract.
Correct.
No cost to the town.
A second to that motion?
I'll
Second?
second.
Oh.
Oops, sorry, Leslie.
All in
Not
favor?
at all. Aye.
Thank you. Want me to sign this copy,
Yes,
Jeff?
that'd be great, and I'll take it with me.
Do we know, or I don't know if this is a question for Bob or Jeff, but the time frame for installation of this?
You had it.
I'm just curious for the
It'll be
paperwork
sometime
for me to
this spring.
submit,
Yeah.
so we can get points for the, once we get this installed. Do you think the spring, early summer?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mary was gonna put
Oh my God.
she sent them some sort of contract or
Okay.
something from us that said it has to be done by the end of March. I believe
Okay.
is what she did.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Very much.
just to give you,
Yeah, just a broad timeframe is
yeah,
great.
just to run down a few things that, and Mike, I don't know, are you gonna mention the gator from Adams? Okay, so I won't mention that. So we need to talk to Mary when she's back about the bid for the ramp. So I started to do some research on the material. Skip is gonna help me a little bit with that. I'm gonna ask him to recommend the material. Once we know the material we want to use, then we can put it out to bid for the ramp.
Sure.
And we have put away money for that, right, in the budget
Yeah.
for the ramp. So the material of the ramp is the big deal,
Yeah.
so you have to be specific when you put it out to bid. And we'll put all of the hardware to be stainless steel, so, because it's gonna be solid, so it won't happen again. It'll last a long, long time. I've been working with Danielle. Mike will probably bring that up about the camp building. Joe's got a down truck at the highway garage that needs an electronic part from General Motors that's on like a intergalactic worldwide back order. It's got computer chips in it. That's why you can't get it. And then we're not the only one. Everybody's down. So I got to General Motors. Tried to say I'm an old retired dealer. You got to help me out. And I got a case number. We're trying to get the parts so we get that truck back on the road for Joe. The guys at the highway garage have been calling around to see if they could find even a wrecked one, steal one out of so they could use the truck. And they found one in the whole country. And I think the part is like $400. And the guy says, $3,500, you pay the shipping and there's no guarantee it'll work. We told him we would jump in the lake, of course. I'm still working with Ted Bonus from the fire department about the Tedesco house, and they're working on insurance on that. They have, by the way, they have till September of 2024 to do that project. So there seems to be plenty of time, but as you know, time flies. So the grant's for $200,000 awarded to the fire department. So that's working on that. I've got a call into the DA to figure out about fines and stuff to report to you guys on the,
Discussion with the
court system.
We met with Tim. That's what stimulated the question.
Right.
And the safety visit by the county, I've been working on that. I'm getting some bids on just some rough figures on to replace all these exit ones with the new LED ones, so the batteries don't go dead all the time. And we still don't know what to do with these doors, but I have one contractor, a door guy, that said he would come and look at these doors and assess them for no charge. He'd just come and look at them and see if they're worth patching up, wooden doors. They're not really rotted, they need to be painted on the outside, but they stick and the hinges are worn a little bit. That's about it. Every time they see a little stain, they want you to investigate leaks right away, so there's a stain in the closet over there from the air conditioner when it leaked. One ceiling tile has a stain on it, the rest I replaced today, and they went crazy on it. Yeah. It's okay.
There's another one.
That's all right. That's it.
Good, thanks. Mike?
I'd like to make a motion that the town supervisor and all the councilmen become a full-time job. Crazy, but it's worth it. I'll do the recreation first, and then I'll move into short-term rentals and the active shooter training. Danielle's not here tonight because she's preparing for the gingerbread house tomorrow night with Santa and so on. She has 130 people pre-signed for picking up gingerbread or being present in the building and making them there. They developed a little fun trophy presentation that they're going to do. But this gingerbread tradition has been, I think it's 20 years they've been doing it, so it's grown and grown. So a good turnout, 130 is really exceptional. It begins, I think they'll start picking up their kits at 3:30 if they want to do it together at home. And then at 6 o'clock, between 6 o'clock and 8:30 at the firehouse will be those that wish to create them there, and also meeting Santa. And you do not have to be a purchaser of the gingerbreads in order to meet Santa. So it's anybody in the community can go. The basketball has started. They're been quite successful with that. As far as the recreation planning going on for the site up in the summer, Bobby and Danielle and many contractors have been looking at the buildings up there. They've done assessments on the door replacements to become handicap accessible. And they've got some bidding in for that. 2 sets, one facing the beach, which is under the sign naming the building after Steve, and then the set that's facing the small pavilion to the west side. That's also double door that they're looking to replace those. We also had a contractor come in to give us a kind of preliminary view of drilling a new well next to the main building there so that water could be accessible year round, but the rest of the grounds that has water pumped to it through the other well system could be shut off and winterized. So she's gotten some people up there to give recommendations, and we're pursuing that. The third project is one that Bob's been working on quite extensively with Reardon & Briggs. We ordered a Kubota about a year ago, paid the money, thought it would be delivered quickly, but it has not. Hat has been very generous to agree to give us that money back, but still keep us on the list if that comes in. In the meantime, Danielle and Bob looked at Adams farm equipment and have identified a 2-wheel John Deere, kind of a Gator type.
Gator,
With a small loading area in the back, 2-seater, gasoline. And they're moving forward to looking at that. We're going to put a roof on it and a window, but that could be delivered quite quickly in preparation for spring.
Good.
Bob's also looking into how we can dispose of the golf cart that's
just
contained in the
FYI,
building.
I spoke to the guy at Adams this afternoon. He said he'd be more than glad they deliver the Gator for free. They'll be glad to pick up the
Golf
golf
cart.
cart
the golf cart that doesn't run.
Yeah.
And take it back, he says, and we'll look at it and see if it's got any value, or they'll dispose of it.
Oh, great.
So,
Great.
and the trade-in on that unit was $100 from Rick Briggs,
Yeah.
was what we quoted. So, I mean, if we can just get some scrap value out of it, you know. I think it's got a fairly new battery in it, I told the guy. So he says, I'll do whatever I can. He was the guy at Adams was really nice. And
Danielle has driven the-
Danielle drove it and went out there, drove it,
Yeah.
because I was curious if it had a good turning radius, and she said it was cute.
Now, there was one concern on whether it had the capability of plowing, and because it's two-wheel and it's also lightweight, if you were to get more than 3 or 4 inches, it would not be conducive to using that for plowing. However, Bob and I know, and we informed Danielle, that there is the ability to purchase perhaps a plow for the front of that front loader that we use, that also drags the sand and all of that. That
And
could
that's
be
a
used if
diesel.
necessary, if the
And
town
it's four-wheel drive.
highway department was unable
Yeah.
some morning to maybe do that process. But right now, we're hoping that the town will be able to take their small truck up there and just plow that out. Based on whether the building gets heated, based on whether the doors get in, all of that, we're working to try and get that to be a 24 or a 12-month use building.
Mhm.
And Danielle's working hard towards that. She's also beginning in January to do the postings for the hiring of all staff for the summer programs at the pool, including the lifeguards, but also the camp. So that information will be developed in January to start reaching out. We'll make some hopefully some preliminary contracts with local trainers to get lifeguard, first aid, all of that done quickly in midwinter, late winter, so that when spring comes, she's ready to fly right
Does
away.
that also include the guy for the grounds up there and stuff?
We have to post through Mary for hiring of
Oh, we
a
do.
replacement for Ted. The budget line for a second person, and then the grass cutter guy has already said he'd be willing to come back.
Okay.
But yes, that has to be posted. We've got to go through that
So
process.
that goes on our website?
It goes on our website.
Yeah, we may put a few other places
Yeah.
too.
But Mary handles all that
Right.
hiring.
And yeah, we should also mention that to anybody we see.
Yeah,
Good part-time job.
that's it for rec. Under my committee work, the short-term rental committee, which consists of Richard Phillips, John Parisi, Bob, and myself, has met 3 times. We've met with the attorney twice. We've nailed it down to where we're starting to pull materials from the current laws that we've pulled in, but more particularly from the one that the state had recommended as the gold standard. I also spoke with the Red Hook Town Supervisor, who has gone through a process of assessing, perhaps finding vendors that can come in and help oversight and governance and tracking of short-term rentals. I called the company. The gentleman called me just before I got to this meeting. He wants me to call him tomorrow. We're looking to either bring him in person or to perhaps do a Zoom meeting with him to see exactly what he could offer, whether it's enhanced computer software tracking, or it's actual in-person tracking, or do they put people on the ground to go out and inspect these places so that it takes the pressure off of the building department. If not, then we'll meet with James and work out how we're going to go about doing that. It has been a little cumbersome, but it's also been very beneficial. Bob and Richard and John are really good at delving into exactly what needs to be done. But it's going well. It's going well. And Jeff is going to redline the Kennedy's, is that how you say it?
Kennedy's.
Kennedy's Town Gold Standard Law, so that we can go through a red line and start to get that process down where we actually have a document we can work with. Once that's done, I want to pull in a couple of civilians that do this business, say, take a look at this, does it make sense? Then we'll move forward in presenting it to us to go through the adoption of a local law and a public meeting where we'll have to adopt it. And then I also heard from Peter Doro, who's doing the same process with the village. I'm going to meet with him as we get a little bit further. Theirs is going to be much different than ours. We looked at the city of Beacon's model, and that's very similar to what most tight communities would do, like a village or a city. So we'll share that information with him. But he contacted me the other day and he asked how far we've gotten. And then we'll go with it. But registries are on the table, registration fees, fines, definitions, governance, when a person can register. It's pretty detailed, pretty detailed.
Yeah.
But that's moving forward quite well. Yesterday, I think it was it yesterday, the active shooter training, or the day before? I lose track.
It was the day before.
Lisa upstairs was able to speak to the state police, and they brought an instructor in day before yesterday, and did an active shooter training program
Yeah,
for all the people that work in this building. A lot video, a lot of common sense items were mentioned. But one thing, and I, in my previous job, was responsible for the safety of the building, so I kind of knew what was required. So I'm working right now in developing floor plans and identifying windows, and we'll be presenting that to Mary to take a look at. And those things will be posted. There's also an opportunity to bring in for further training, if an active shooting was to occur here, how to prevent bleed outs and so on. Fingers crossed none of that ever happens, but you got to be prepared. Off-site assembly when the building gets evacuated, intercom system, perhaps cameras in a couple of critical areas in this building might be necessary, but we'll bring all that forward once we get this going. But Betsy Shikun was here, the judge, to talk about the safety in the court. As far as the building itself, exiting, one of the things that we have to make sure of is this fire escape will be an exit for the people on the second floor if there was an emergency. Got to make sure that gets looked at to make sure it's physically safe. So that's another project we're working on. So that's it.
It's great.
A lot of municipalities now, Jimmy told me that he found this out when he was doing his court training. He said a lot of municipalities have a full-time police officer in the building.
Yeah, now they do, yeah.
In the town building?
Yes.
Like in their
Like
municipal building, they have a,
The trooper said a lot of town buildings are
LaGrange.
going to code number access where the person inside the office buzzes it so that you can get in. You just don't walk up, open the door and walk in.
yeah,
And that's becoming protocols for a lot to.
yeah, like a camera outside might be nice.
He said camera in your access and egress areas, lights in the parking lot, which we have. Practicing evacuation, practicing assembly site to make sure everybody's out of the building, communication, panicking, what to do if it does occur.
Just
Pretty comprehensive.
Just see a shotgun, that's all. Take care of it.
Pretty
Get you a
comprehensive.
shotgun.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that fixes lights outside the building?
I've asked Millbrook Electric 5 times now. He says he'll get to it as quick as he can. That's every time I tell him that. He's just got his bucket truck there, and he's just had to go up and either replace the bulb or the sensor. It's one of those two. I don't know what else to do. Was he here?
Yesterday.
Was he here?
I'm not sure. I looked out the window and there was a truck
That might be.
that had
That
a
might be-
bucket.
Yes,
was,
they are
uh,
here.
It was out
So when
last night,
Oh, it
the
was?
light,
Again?
just on this side of the building.
It was.
Well, we'll let you know. We'll take a look.
We'll look
tonight.
I guess we'll find out what we-
If he was here yesterday to replace it and
Quick,
he
run
said
out
it
and
was
see if
out
it's
again,
on.
we might have a short.
Or maybe he ordered
Or
something.
we have a short. With all this rain, a lot of things are shorting up that are
Yeah,
outside.
but that's been out all summer. And during the summer, it's still daylight when we leave here, so it's most of the time.
Okay, Mr. Rochford.
All right, so in accordance with Nan, our comprehensive plan review consultant, Nan, in accordance with her recommendation for us to meet with the village to go over the plan review, Leslie and I did that on,
Oh, awesome.
okay,
Sorry,
Leslie,
I guess that was today.
yeah. So Leslie and I did that on the 17th. We met with Buffy Arbogast. We discussed, there were no concerns from the village. We discussed Airbnbs, what Mike just said, that they're reviewing their Airbnb regulations and this and that. She brought up architectural, with buildings and
they just want us,
mainstreaming.
yeah, that they
how-
want us to
yeah.
be thoughtful of that
Yeah.
as we're thinking about it. And
we discussed certain properties that we thought were in the town but are actually in the village, and,
Yeah.
and this, that, and the other thing as to where possible hotel sites could be. So we did that, which brings me to my next request to make a motion to schedule a public hearing on January 12th to adopt the comprehensive plan review as an addendum to our comprehensive plan.
Right.
So I make that motion.
Second to that, Jeff?
I guess a couple of things. That addendum isn't ready yet, is that right? Nan still needs to prepare it and circulate it.
She's going to, yes, basically all it is, just changing like the cover of the existing
Cover
comprehensive
sheet, yeah.
to say that there's is an addendum, and then schedule the public hearing to, because the comprehensive plan review report is in place. This will be an addendum to, so it'll just change the date of the comprehensive plan, showing that it is now revised to have the review as an addendum.
And my thought is January 12th is your regular meeting, right?
It's our
Yeah, you
reorg
made it
meeting.
your annual
Yeah.
reorg meeting as well. Then you're holding a public hearing on the exemption changes, right? So now this will then be another public hearing.
Yeah.
So it'll be a very long meeting potential.
Yes, but it might, yes.
yeah, we did talk about maybe doing it as a separate meeting,
I almost think. you
but
might want to.
I don't
There
know.
might be much public input.
I
The
think-
reorg doesn't take that long, does it, Gary?
No.
Okay,
Do you
I don't
want to
think
do
the
a
other
special
one,
meeting?
I don't think the other public hearing would take long.
No.
This, it wouldn't. So the only thing that would make this meeting long would be this public hearing, which if we rescheduled it, it would be just as long.
yeah,
So, do you see what I mean? Like,
Okay.
and most of, how do you want to say, the people that have been are on board with adopting this as, any questions or concerns have already been brought up. I mean, would anybody say that that's not true? I mean,
I think that we had a
We
public,
discussed
we had
this
a
one,
public,
yeah.
or we had a
Presentation.
yeah,
public presentation, people could ask
Yeah.
questions.
I mean,
And so,
yeah, the room was full when
Yeah.
Tim.
And basically, this is just
So-
adopting the document to become an addendum to the
addendum.
back of the
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
It's not going through the document addendum
No.
itself. It's just, so that's basically.
Yeah,
I think, we did have at one of our meetings, and I think it might have been the October meeting, we did decide that we agreed to adopt it as an
Yeah.
addendum, and I think coming out of that was, well, the public has to
You have to go.
know that that's our intent,
Right,
this
right.
beyond, and we give them an
And
opportunity
we
to
posted
comment
it.
on the fact that,
when we have to do a
I've made
SQLA
that step.
review, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So then you need a motion and.
Okay.
schedule
So
a
Joe
public
made the
hearing.
So I
motion.
just made the
So
motion.
second to that motion,
second?
Leslie, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Right. That'll be the 12th.
Well, yeah.
Bring in lunch.
I mean,
Yeah, wow.
gosh. All right, so that's
That's it?
That's it.
All right. Good, Joe, thank you. Leslie, you have a full,
I do, I'm gonna be,
Full plate
try to
here.
be brief though, but we'll
Okay.
see. Take a deep breath. I'm gonna start with the ZBA, because they're first in my notes here. They had their meeting on November 15th. They had, 3 applicants before them. First was a public hearing for 610 Stanford Road. It was an area variance for a pool. The month before, They didn't have the site plan. They didn't have answers to some questions regarding where the propane tank would go, where the well was. They came back. All those questions were answered. Public hearing was opened. There were no comments by the public, and so the pool was approved. The area variance was approved with the consideration of the water line being removed, which is one of their contingencies. So that was a fairly straightforward one. 245 Hammond Hill Road was an application for an area variance. Our building inspector asked that they go before the ZBA for this variance. They want to expand their barn, and they're looking for a side yard setback, but it's very complicated because it's close to the property next door, and he actually owns the property next door, but he doesn't want to consolidate it as one parcel. So
Wasn't complaining.
yeah, so it's interesting. So there was a motion that was made by a board member to grant the setback variance of 64 feet. But there was not a quorum and it was not unanimous. Chairman Parisi voted no. He thought that he should go before the planning board for a lot line adjustment. And they actually did. So I'll report on that when we get to the planning board meeting. White Rock Farm, 43 Butts Hollow Road, they came forward with an area variance. They're looking to just put an addition on their house. It's an old house built in 1822. The architect came, the applicant came. They want to increase their square footage by 38%, so it goes above that 25% threshold, which is why they were here for a variance. They also went to the planning board from here. They were referred to the planning board. They did make a motion for a public hearing on this question of the area variance. It was a type 2 action under seeker. The ZBA concluded there was no change to the environment. It was not a substantial increase, and that it meets the conditions for an area variance. So the front yard variance is for an addition of 68 feet, and they asked that they get some approval from the DLC because part of the property is in DLC protected property or conservation. So they just need approval to go outside of that footprint slightly. They too went before the planning board. They were referred to the planning board and they did go to the planning board. So I'll report on that in just a moment when I get to the planning board meeting. The planning board met on Tuesday, December 6th. If you recall, the DLC made an application for a special use permit to change the former Walbridge Farmer Perkins House into an education center and office for the DLC. This was the final hearing on that. They addressed all of the questions regarding site plan with regard to handicap accessibility and parking and lighting, and the planning board unanimously approved their special use permit. So they're off to the races there.
I don't know what they're going to do with that cow statue.
We should have asked. We could have had
The
known.
plastic bowl?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Joe, I used to use that every year when I had a no bull sale. Mrs. Perkins let me use it.
That's right. In the back of the
We used to
truck.
put it in the back of a big truck and
Yep.
put it out front, and I'd advertise
Yep.
no bull sale.
Oh, that is great.
George and Mrs. Perkins. let
Maybe
me
you could
borrow
ask
it.
if the DLC could donate that to
Yeah.
Rudy's or something. Next application was for Upton Lake. They'd come back. This is the school where they want to build an additional building to connect the two. This was, again, another workshop meeting. They were to come back with answers to a bunch of questions regarding square footage and water treatment. The property butts Clinton, so there was a question about the wetlands buffer there and informing the town of Clinton. The planning board determined that they were not quite yet ready for a public hearing because what they've said to the planning board is that they want to increase this space. They don't have these two separate buildings, right? They want to connect them, but they also want to connect them so that it will enable the school to increase in size. Right now they have about 40 combined students and faculty. They want to be able to have the flexibility to go up to 90, but yet they didn't have answers to questions about, okay, well, what would that look like with parking and stormwater and everything else that flows from that? So they asked them to go back and say, come back to us with the answer for what this would look like if this actually was a 90-person school, since that would be the sort of the higher number of students and faculty that you'd like to accommodate. And from there, they said they'd make referrals to the fire department with issues of, egress and county referrals. So they're going to be back in January. 43 Butts Hollow Road, I mentioned them with the ZBA. They referred them to the planning board. They're here again. And they basically said it's a type 2 plan action under seeker. The planning board loved their plans. They did bring a letter from the DLC approving the expansion and the Department of Health. And I guess they have a line adjustment here as well. So they made a motion on that issue for a public hearing for January 3rd, their next meeting. The last application was on Stanford Road. It's the Randy Reef property, which abuts Camillo Gross. That was an application for a lot line change. Basically, there's some part of the property where the Reef property abuts the Camillo Gross property, and it just makes the property lines a little funky and doesn't make it easy for them to get around. So they've come to an agreement that they would, I guess they're essentially purchasing 0.13, one third of an acre, so that they would go from 3.58 acres to 3.73. This is Camillo Gross's, just really for them to have a little more room. That would take away from, Randy Reef would go down his 38.8 by, it's less than a quarter of an acre, right? Is my math right there? Yeah.
Yeah, that happens.
So it's very small, and it was classified as a type 2 action. They determined there was no need for a public hearing because it's not a new subdivision, and they approved that. The CAC met last night. I was not present for the meeting. I had to watch it on Zoom. So Howard's here. I'm sure he can fill in on some things. But Michael Clemens, who's a conservation biologist and an expert on national resource inventories, he came to speak to the CAC on best practices there. The meeting is taped. As I said, I've watched it. It's worthwhile for anyone who's interested. And Howard provided an update on.
The short version is he recommended you hire a consultant if it's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what we're doing. I mean, that's part of what we're doing with, if we get this grant, which we'll see, the Department of Environmental Conservation will be our, Environmental Protection rather, the DEP will be our consultant. They're walking us through that process. So, you know.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Pretty much the rest of it is mapping stuff and
Yeah.
things like that, but you really do need to get a consultant nowadays. It's not so simple as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. And then anything else that you want to add about planning or zoning? I know you gave your report, but I pretty much covered everything.
Better than I would.
Okay. Okay. And so that's that for those committees. Danielle Solowitz has been incredible in getting together all of the estimates that we needed for the CDBG grant. Of course, Mary's been so helpful as well. Lois was helping today too. We were on a conference call. Mary came in to get the resolution so I could upload that on the portal. But everything is uploaded, ready to go. It's due at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Danielle went over to part of the end of the application. They asked if you'd like to add any supplemental materials. I said it'd be great if we could have pictures, because they asked for a description of the building, which I provided, but to have picture, I said, if we have any pictures of the outside, just so they can see what we're talking about, I think that would be helpful. So Danielle did that, and she just emailed them to me an hour or so ago while I was here. So I'll upload those in the morning, and we'll press send, and that will be out and done. And we've been in touch with Christy Bonomo over at Dutchess County Planning, and she knows it's coming, and all that's very good. I also reached out to Deirdre earlier in the week to ask her if she would do a letter of support for us, which she agreed to do. And she and I texted today, so I'll follow up with her tomorrow, and
Good.
I think we're all good there. And that's all I've got to
Yahoo.
Wow.
report. We're also, I guess I should say, we're waiting to hear back on the grant for the joint NRI application that we made with the town of Clinton. We're supposed to hear this month. I think next week, but I'll keep you all posted.
All right.
Thank you. Great report. Okay. Motion to close the public hearing on the fire contract.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Second.
Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to authorize me to sign that contract.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There was no public input, right? Did we get anything in the mail or anything? Nothing on the
Is there
board?
anybody up?
Nope.
There's nobody.
Nope.
Where at?
Okay. Does anybody, do you have anything you want to ask us?
No,
You sure?
no, good.
It's nice and quiet back there, and just thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Howard, do you have anything?
You may hear from the CAC as a whole, no.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
We have nothing, CAC may have something, but at a later date.
Okay. Okay, so,
Attorney-client?
yes, we have an issue that requires attorney-client privilege session. So, need a
You
motion.
actually can close the meeting and I can hold that afterwards.
Yep. So a motion to close the regular.
I'll make the motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And then a motion to go into.
Yes, I'll make the motion to go into attorney-client privilege meeting.
Yep, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.